there, day 2. I am reading If I Only Had a Green Nose, hence Mrs. McPeak's green nose. You'll find out why I have a green nose. And I have Wesley here. He has his St. Patrick's Day little scarf. He's probably going to just play with it while we're sitting here for a few minutes. So happy St. Patrick's Day. Here we go. Lucia and Punchinello looked out at the window of Eli's workshop. Like other Wemmicks, they are wooden people. But unlike other Wemmicks, they weren't standing in line in the village below. Look at them all, Punchinello explained. I don't understand it, Lucia wondered. Why would anyone want to paint his nose green? Because everyone else is, Eli responded without looking up from his workbench. Punchinello didn't understand. What do you mean? Everyone wants to look like everyone else. Sometimes it's square hats. Sometimes it's tall shoes. Why, last year the big thing was yellow ears. Now it's green noses. And everyone wants a green nose. Does a green nose make them smarter? No. Does a green nose make them stronger? No. Does it make them faster? Nope. Then what does a green nose make them? Eli looked up and smiled. Greener. But his smile left as soon as he looked out the window at the long line of Wemmicks. They think they'll be happier if they look like everyone else. But I made them different on purpose. Freckles, long noses, bright eyes, dark eyes, these were my ideas. Now they all want to look the same. Not me. I'm happy just the way you made me. Me too, agreed Punchinello. I don't need a green nose to feel special. But I would like to see one up close. So they went downtown, and Eli said, just remember, I made you different on purpose. From the street level, the line looked even longer and noses even greener. Lucia and Punchinello worked their way to the front of the crowd and watched as one Wemmick after another stepped into the nose coloring store and came out painted. It's the latest thing, barked a Wemmick on the sidewalk. Don't be the only Wemmick with a plain nose. Who is that? Asked Punchinello. Lucia shrugged. I don't know. Well, that's Mr. Willie with it, volunteered a Wemmick from behind them. Does he run the nose painting store? Why, no. More than that, painted noses were his idea. So were the square hats, the tall shoes, and the yellow ears. New things are his thing. He decides what is with it. Isn't he the best? Lucia and Punchinello took a good look at this tall Wemmick with the deep voice, big smile, tall hat, green bow tie that matched his oh-so-great green nose. Both were thinking the same question. Lucia asked it. Well, who made him the new thing picker? The Wemmick looked puzzled, like he'd never asked that question before. Well, I don't know. He always has. Then his eyes brightened. Wait, look, here comes a new nose. Ooh, some of the Wemmick said. The just painted Wemmick didn't stop to speak. He just kept his nose in the air and walked past. All the green-nosed Wemmicks did this. After all, how could your nose be seen if it wasn't up in the air? Walking around the high nose, however, was risky. Wemmicks walked into walls, doors, even others. Lucia and Punchinello had to be very careful. One Wemmick took up the entire street. Punchinello said he would never want his nose painted green. Ah, Punch, I was hoping you'd go. Punchinello recognized the voice immediately. Twiggy, he turned and looked at the wide-eyed, sweet-smiling Wemmick. His ears began to turn red. They always did when they saw her. He reached up and covered them. Why don't you paint your nose, Punch? I painted mine. Everyone else is painting theirs. Besides, you look good in green. Your nose is so cute. She went and touched his nose. Bye-bye, she waved. Punchinello moved one hand from his ear to his nose, and he turned and looked at his reflection in a store window. Lucia had to grab his attention again. Come on, Punchinello, let's go. As he walked past the store, he noticed Willie Whiffet examining his nose in a handheld mirror. Later at home, he did the same. I never noticed before, but my nose looks pale. The next morning, Punchinello walked down the street with his friends Splint and Woody. Are you thinking about it? Woody asked. Sort of, Punchinello answered. They say the paint stings your nose, and it stinks. The brush could get in your eyes, and it only comes off with sandpaper. Shh, something's going on. Well, the mayor was standing on a platform. His wife, nose freshly painted, and Willie Whiffet were on either side of him. Welcome, one and all, to the first meeting of the Nosy Wemmicks Club. Your glistening green sets you apart as a Whiffet Wemmick. As if on cue, Wemmicks began stroking their noses. You are classy, you are king, you are awesome, and you are green. Proud of his poetry, the mayor smiled and the Wemmicks applauded. We owe it all to Willie Whiffet, he shouted over the noise, the pioneer of the painted snout. Everyone applauded. The mayor hung a medal around the neck of Willie Whiffet. You have changed the face of Wemmicksville. And with that, the three friends looked at each other. And they went straight to go get their nose painted. They walked around town with their noses high up in the air. And for a few days, that's what they did. They hung out with other green noses and made weekly visits to the nose-oculist for a nose polish. Most of all, they enjoyed looking down at their noses at the unpainted Wemmicks. One day when they were feeling especially smug, Splint said to Punchinello, I can't imagine who wouldn't have a green nose. Punchinello agreed. Anyone without a green nose is so what? A voice interrupted. It was Lucia. Punchinello was embarrassed. I haven't seen you in a while. You haven't seen anyone in a long time, she replied, except yourself. He started to speak but didn't. He was bothered by what she said, and he was even more bothered by what he saw. He saw the next morning, as the three were walking into Wemmicksville. Standing on the other side was a Wemmick with a red nose. He needs to get with it, they said to each other. But then they saw another Wemmick with a red nose, then a third and a fourth. By the time they were in the village, they were surrounded by red-nosed Wemmicks, and those whose noses weren't red, they were in line to have them painted. Well, this went on and on. 2 days later, the noses were blue, then pink, then yellow, and now orange. The three friends waited in line for their nose to get painted orange. This has to be the final color. They were getting tired of standing in line and changing their nose colors. But once again, they were wrong. They just saw a Wemmick with a purple nose. The three of them sat on a rock and hung their heads. I should have listened to Eli. You think he would help us? Why don't you ask him? All three turned at the sound of the familiar voice. Lucia, they said. He asks about you every day, she told them. Is he mad? Punchinello wondered. Sad, but not mad. Punchinello looked up toward Eli's house on the hill. He told me to tell you to come, Lucia spoke again. Could I take my friends? Of course. Would you go with me? Certainly. And so the four began the long walk up the hill to Eli's house. When they reached the top of the hill, Eli stepped out in front of the house to meet them. Trying to fit in, hey? Punchinello nodded. Did you succeed? Not really. Every time we got close, someone changed the rules. That's the way it is. And my neck hurt from sticking my nose up in the air, Woody added. Well, you weren't built to walk that way. We just want to be ourselves again, Splint said. I'm glad to hear that. Can we? They asked. Of course you can, Eli replied. I'll always help you be who I made you to be. Then he reached in his pocket and pulled out a piece of sandpaper. But it's going to take some time. And so Punchinello and his friend followed their maker into the workshop where he spent the rest of the day removing the paint. It hurt to be sanded, but it was worth it to be normal again. Remember, kids, stay true to yourself. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Tune in tomorrow for another story. Wesley, say bye.